It's quite interesting. It's that people who are not conservative get so bent out of shape when it comes to traditional values. It's just funny to me. I don't know a woman that want to work every single day and be slaving over a job. I just don't know of any. Now, some people do have career ambition, which is fine, but understand the cost with career ambition. There comes a slight cost. I don't believe God created us to be the way we are today in America. This is why we have so many problems. I think that if we arranged our circumstances and situations the way God had ordained us to do, I honestly believe life will be better and people will be happier. Men are supposed to lead. When we have situations where men are not leading and women have to take up the lead, we start seeing dysfunction. And it's not because women are bad, it's because men are not doing what they're supposed to be doing. They're not leading, they're not protecting. And then what happens is you breed a generation of cowards who are afraid to lead, who can't lead, and who put women in a situation where women don't feel safe. And so they don't want to marry you, and they don't want to commit to you, and they don't want you to lead because you're a coward. You don't stand up for principles. You don't stand up for God. You want to take the back seat and let others determine your future. When in past times, men would take the lead, take the mantle of the family, of the business, of the church, and they will run as God has called them to do. But what's happening now? Feminizing every aspect of our society, taking out the logic and making it emotional. I said this the other week. People should consider why Paul made mention about women in the church. You got to think to yourself, why did Paul say that? Think to yourself, why aren't women voting more conservative? Just take a wild guess and put this in perspective. According to the poll, women were 57% or so in favor of Joe Biden. Why is that? Why is that? When you see the advent or the explosion of single parent homes, why do you see society become worse? Think about this for a minute. They talk about our youth, they talk about young men, and they violent and crazy, and they're getting exposed to too much femininity in their upbringing. That's why it's important for men to be at the house, because if men are not at the house, like God has called them to be, then a young boy is raised by a woman. And a young man cannot become a man with only being raised by a woman. And people are going to get mad at me for saying this, but how can a woman show a man how to be a man? Something that Charleston, is a guy named Charleston, said, and he a lunatic half of the time, but every now and again he say stuff that's profound. He said a woman can show a young man how to be a good woman. She can't show him how to be a good man. And then he made mention of the single parent household, is that a woman is trying to teach a man how to be a man that she can't have. The man in her house ain't the man that she's trying to tell her son to be. She can't even attract a man that's the valuable man that she's creating in her mind and telling this boy. How do you think she gonna be able to turn that boy into a man? You look at statistical data, single fathers are almost on par with dual parent houses. Single mothers are, when you look at the households, it's completely off the cliff. Now, some of y'all are great at it. Some of y'all, God has anointed you and blessed you to be able to do it. Generally speaking, it's not conducive for children, especially not young men. But in society, they have these young boys raised by women, surrounding women, go to public school, taught by women, and then you wonder why they grew up and be, emotional and they don't know how to, use, I guess, what God has given them, their strengths, to their advantage. They can't handle their emotionalism, and then they go and kill each other and do all this other stuff. If you don't believe me, look at the violent statistics and look at the correlation between these kids growing up without a father. Look at it. Look at the level of violent crimes perpetuated by black children, black youth, compared to white. and then you look at the single parent household correlation, and you say there's a higher percentage of young men being raised without fathers in the black community. There's a higher percentage of murders, violent crimes, incarceration, drug selling, drug dealing, lower education. I'm not a rocket scientist, but put the math together and you'll find out the truth. Hold the phone.